So you guys can use your reaction symbol, or you can turn your videos on and wave at me. I wanted to ask how many of you are currently practicing hygienists. They're already graduated. Hey, we're seeing some faces now. Hi, guys. So you guys, are you guys practicing hygienists? Are you already graduated? And then do I have any who are still in a dental hygiene program?
I'm still in the program.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm still in the program.
Yeah, me too.
Awesome. Okay. Now you guys are just waiting for me to ask the right question. And is anybody with us that hasn't actually started a hygiene program yet? Okay, awesome. So thinking a couple years down the road. That's great. Great. All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to be respectful of your time. I know some of you are zooming in on your lunch hour here, so I want to make sure that we get everything covered. So throughout the presentation, we're going to be sharing screens. Different presentations will share screens, so don't hesitate to pop up if something doesn't come up for you, or you're not seeing something or hearing something. Let me just slide my screens around. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing my PowerPoint, right? Okay, Lisa's nodding at me, good. All right, great. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the second now University of Michigan Dental Hygiene Degree Completion Virtual Open House. We are very excited that you've joined us this afternoon. Today we'll be sharing with you basic information such as what our admission criteria are, what the application process looks like. That information is very straightforward and it's always on our website as well, so if you need it for a future reference, feel free to check out the online information. So we will talk a little bit about that, but what we'd like to spend the majority of our time today with you talking about are the features of this program, what we think sets us apart from other programs, and sort of the structure of our program that makes us unique. So to do that, I have brought in a couple special guests that I think will help you learn about the value and accessibility of a U of M education. So we're happy to be joined by a senior administrator from the University of Michigan Office of Financial Aid, who will share information with us on applying for and receiving financial aid at U of M. Many of our students have been pleasantly surprised by the amount of financial aid that U of M was able to offer them. So stay tuned for that. I think that'll be very informative for us. We'll also be joined by two of our alumni who will share their perspectives and experiences from their time in the program and since graduating from the program. So we have set aside some time for after each presentation and at the end of the open house to open up the conversation for some Q&A with today's guest speakers. So during the presentations, we encourage you to use the chat box feature in Zoom. If you have a question while they're speaking, don't hesitate to use that chat box, and we'll monitor that chat box once the speaker is done, and we'll filter through some of those questions and maybe bubble those up to the speakers right when they're done speaking. So feel free to use that. The slide deck for this presentation and hopefully this video recording will both be linked on the degree completion webpage next week. As much as I would like to spend the whole time talking about the program, I just can't fit all of it into a 1-hour presentation. So the PowerPoint will have additional material that we just won't have time to cover in our time together. So I encourage you to check back next week to take a look at those links and take a look at that additional information in there. So, right. So let's get started with some introductions. As probably most of you know, if you don't already, my name is Jennifer Cullen, and I'm the director of the Degree Completion Program here at the university, and I'm a clinical lecturer in the Division of Dental Hygiene. So I graduated from Ferris State's Associates Program back in 1998, and after temping in clinical practice in Southeast Michigan for about a year, I found my home in a private practice here in Ann Arbor, and was there for about 10 years. I completed the University of Michigan's Degree Completion e-learning program in 2012. And then I earned my master's in public health from Benedictine University, their online program, in 2015. I became the director here and a full-time clinical lecturer in late 2016. So I've been around for a little bit. I have the great pleasure this afternoon of being joined by my colleague, Lisa Dodge. Lisa has been with the U of M Division of Dental Hygiene since 1998. She assists students and faculty in all 3 of our dental hygiene programs. And Lisa has received many forms of recognition for her contributions to not only the division, but the university as well, including the U of M Spirit of Excellence Award for Outstanding Service to the university and the Candace Johnson Award for Staff Excellence. I think the only thing that would ever pull Lisa and I away from our roles here at the university might be a job offer to teach at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And I'm so pleased that Lisa has chosen her virtual background to support my statement about us leaving U of M to go teach at Hogwarts. So, so let's dive in. I mentioned if you're joining our open house today that you have at least some sense of what we mean when we talk about degree completion in dental hygiene. Well, let's just briefly clarify what degree completion means and what it doesn't mean. So degree completion is an opportunity for licensed dental hygienists who have completed their associate's level dental hygiene program to continue their academic journey in order to complete the remaining credits for a baccalaureate degree. Often this is a bachelor's degree in dental hygiene, but not always. It's important to understand that the completion of a bachelor's degree for us, for dental hygienists, does not change our scope of practice or our scope of licensure. So however, combining that RDH license with a bachelor's degree does allow us to make the most out of our scope of practice and the most out of our license. So degree completion builds on the academic credits that you've already completed in your associate's program to create the most straightforward path for you to higher education or advanced career opportunities. Dental hygiene bachelor degree completion programs should be preparing you to meet the changing needs of your patients, the public, the healthcare system, but also help you grow personally, professionally, as you explore the diverse roles of this wonderful profession. So let's talk a little bit more about your RDH license. So a career in dental hygiene actually has more to offer you than you may even be aware of right now. So while clinical practice is of course the foundation of our profession, it's really only just the beginning for dental hygienists. We know from research that graduates of bachelor degree programs are more likely than graduates of associate degree programs to have non-private practice positions, like those such as teaching, research, administration, or public health. In order to access those positions in today's job market and healthcare landscape, having a bachelor's degree will be very important. Degree completion programs also provide opportunities for students to spend additional time on advanced coursework and non-clinical experiences in order to give the students the space to increase their depth and breadth of knowledge. So what might that look like? Well, for a start, degree completion is a path to more career opportunities. So we're no longer an auxiliary of the dental team. Dental hygienists are primary care providers. There are job opportunities in addition to clinical practice that are opening up for dental hygienists every day. We're becoming an important part, and respected members of the healthcare team. We can no longer sit in our pristine private practices and think we're fulfilling our professional responsibility to care for the public. And a bachelor's degree in dental hygiene will take you deeper into your understanding and practice of evidence-based decision-making beyond your clinical practice. There's a demand for dental hygiene faculty right now. It's up to us as a profession to train the next generation of dental hygienists. And as we know, there is a trend in dental hygiene faculty retiring right now, and there have been for many years. So this creates a demand for hygienists with the educational background to fill those positions. And now more than ever, we need faculty who have education and experience in online and remote learning. And so advocacy, you may not have had a lot of experience with this yet, especially if you're still in your associate's program. The word advocacy gets talked about in a lot of different ways. So advocacy for our patients, for health policy, for vulnerable populations, for access to care. But advancing your education will position you better to be an advocate for those issues that matter most to you. And no matter what area of study you choose, if you plan to get a master's degree, you're going to need to start with a bachelor's degree. And a degree completion is really the quickest path for you to do that. So, it's great to have this broader knowledge and this passion for our profession, but what does that look like in terms of real employment opportunities, real jobs in the workplace? So we wanted to know what kind of jobs our alumni were finding when they left the program. So we surveyed them. 2 years after they graduate, we survey them to see what they're doing and what the impact of the program had on them. And we've been doing this for 10 years. And so we have quite a bit of data on our alumni now. And we found that in general, 82% of our alumni reported they had expanded their career opportunities. So let's take a closer look at what they meant by that. So this is kind of a busy graph, but what you can see here down the left, you see the roles of the hygienist. So the clinician, the instructor, the student, public health, etc. The blue bars are what the alumni were doing before the program, and the red are what the alumni were doing 2 years after. So the majority, you can see, reported that they still practiced at least some part of their week. This may be in combination with other jobs. We only asked them, do they do this, any hours per week? And so they responded that, a significant number of them are still in clinical practice to some degree. So you can also see that there was a significant increase in the number of alumni who are now spending some amount of their week teaching. What's interesting to me about the student numbers are that nearly a third of our alumni continue to be students 2 years after the program. So this tells you that a number of our students go on to graduate school. In the public health field here, it's kind of a bigger umbrella. So we're talking about both clinical and administrative positions here in public health. This could be something in a federally qualified health center, a school-based program, a mobile dental unit, community-based clinics, which include our PA 161 direct access models. So it's a little bit bigger umbrella there, but definitely our alumni are finding employment in that sector. And then also we have our non-oral health field here, which is 20% of our alumni have used their bachelor's degree as a launch pad to jobs outside of dental hygiene. So they're reporting that they use their skills that they learned in the degree completion program to do those jobs. Kind of interesting there. So I'm going to move fairly quickly through this slide simply because I want to make sure I don't infringe on my guest speakers' time to speak. So we'll definitely have some time for questions. And of course, as I said, these will be up on the website for later viewing. So we've covered what hygienists, why they should advance their degree, and what kind of work is available to you if you do that. But now I want to talk to you about what degree completion should look like, what college can best get you there. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about why Michigan and try to answer this question. So the Michigan difference is something that we talk about. It's something, if you're from Michigan, you've heard this as an ad campaign, but it's really more than that. The Michigan difference truly is the ethos by which our students, our faculty, our alumni live and work every day. The Michigan difference captures that remarkable capability of the university to make a difference for our students and our state and for our society. It's our ability to make an authentic impact on our students in a way that not only grows what they bring to the classroom, but also often develops in them something they didn't even know was there before. So let's talk a little more specifically about the dental school itself. So you may know this, you may not know this, but we are the #1 dental school in the country. We have been for several years. We actually are sometimes the #1 in the world as well. So it's quite an accolade. And I want to be clear that this isn't an award just for the DDS students and their faculty. The U of M Dental School actually has 5 specialty areas, including dental hygiene, in addition to that pre-doc program. So the award considers the school as a whole in terms of things like education, innovation, research, or service. So nearly half of Michigan dentists are U of M alumni. And just to think about that for a minute, when you're thinking about going to apply for a job anywhere, whether it's in private practice or in public health or for the state, you're likely going to run into not only Michigan dentists, but Michigan alumni, okay? So U of M is known nationally for its educational programs. Hiring managers know that U of M graduates are well educated, they're well prepared for the responsibilities of a new career. Graduate school admissions counselors know that U of M students will be successful in their master's programs because of the excellent grounding they receive as undergrads. So the university, and including the Division of Dental Hygiene, have extensive resources available for students to be successful. This includes academic support. The degree completion program partners with the Campus Writing Center. We have peer tutors that are assigned specifically to our students to help them, even our online students, to help them with their writing skills. U of M will talk about financial aid at U of M, and then I think equally important to all that is the physical and mental health support that you have at the university here. In fact, the School of Dentistry itself has a psychologist embedded in our building for the students, specifically for the students. So we really take that very seriously and want to make sure our students have access to the support that they need. Even though we're a very, very large institution, we really value our personal relationships. We take building our relationships with our students very seriously. At U of M, you're never just a number. As a U of M degree holder, you're going to be joining one of the world's largest living alumni bodies. We have over 500,000 graduates in more than 100 countries. And interestingly, 9,000 of those alumni are School of Dentistry alumni. So everywhere you go, you meet somebody from U of M. So another important example that I want to talk about with specific to the e-learning program and what I think makes our program really stand out among other degree completion programs, and this is one of the things I'm really most proud of with this program, are our faculty. These faculty are all licensed dental hygienists, and they are leaders in their field. They hold positions in national and state level organizations. They're published authors and researchers in diverse areas of study. I encourage you to go to the dental school's website, actually, where every faculty and staff member have a little biography published on our directory, and you can read more about their specific interests, their roles at the university. These guys are also great examples of what kinds of careers you can have in dental hygiene. So you'll find the e-learning faculty actively and meaningfully engaged and involved in your courses. In fact, the faculty presence, I think, is a hallmark of the e-learning program. I did my graduate studies online, and I can tell you there was a noticeable inconsistency in faculty involvement. And whether you're just now experiencing e-learning or whether you've been an online learner for some time, but I can tell you the presence of that faculty online is very important to your learning. Right, so let's get down in a little bit more granular aspects of the program, talk a little bit about the structure of it. This table is a summary of the e-learning courses, sort of at a glance. In the e-learning program, students register for 2 classes every semester. So at U of M, a semester is 15 weeks. So this gives you 6 credits each semester. So each class is 3 credits, 2 a semester. However, the courses are structured so that you only take 1 at a time. Each course runs 7 weeks, and you get that 1 week break in between. So students take the same courses with their cohort in a set order. And that structure actually goes very quickly. Time flies when you're in this program because you are busy. You think 1 class at a time isn't that big a deal, especially if you're in school right now. Man, wouldn't it be nice to take 1 class at a time? But remember, you're going to be working part-time, possibly also balancing personal responsibilities. So 1 class at a time in 7 weeks is intense. You'll be plenty busy. So students tell us that they average about 15 to 20 hours a week on coursework. And this is not all in 1 or 2 days of the week that they pack this in. This is actually spread out over the week. So they're doing a little bit of work each day. The program is designed to allow that balance between education, work, and your personal responsibilities. That was a fundamental principle that this program was built on. So you can see there are familiar sounding topics in that course list, but I assure you, you have not taken these subjects at the level you will with us. You've seen these subjects through the lens of clinical practice right now, right? Your community, your health promotion, oral diseases, you've seen that through the lens of clinical practice. But advancing your education will help you to see those subjects through all of the roles of the dental hygienist. The e-learning program is also a program, and I'm using my air quotes because just like your associate's program, it's organized as a series of courses that build on each other. That's intentional. It's not just a bunch of disconnected general ed classes that you're taking a random order. Each class builds on the previous. And there are institutions out there that will offer you degree completion where the students receive no additional training in their major area of study. So no advanced education in dental hygiene subjects. Instead, they complete their bachelor's degree by taking liberal arts courses or management courses. And those courses are not taught by registered dental hygienists. So if you want to advance your education in your field, I would highly recommend a program that actually focuses on dental hygiene and is taught by dental hygienists. So in addition to broadening your knowledge in the e-learning program, you're going to build real skill sets. As educators and clinicians, your faculty know how important the authentic application of knowledge is to not just the mastery of a skill, but to the transformation of the student. We believe that relevance is what drives learning. So if you're evaluating different degree completion programs, I strongly encourage you to ask those administrators about the real world opportunities that their students get. So what do students get to do in their program in addition to being in an online discussion or submitting a few assignments? And the best way to show you what this looks like at U of M is with a few pictures of our degree completion students applying what they are learning in the online classroom and to applying that then to real world activities as part of their educational experiences here at U of M. So I went through my files and I dug up a few photos, and I think these will help really sort of help you visualize what our students get to do while they're part of our program. So as part of their coursework, students participate in a student teaching practicum during the second year of the program. During this course, the students spend 1 day a week shadowing a faculty member in a clinic or a lab, and you can partner with your local dental hygiene program, or you can come to U of M. This is Farah on the left here and Chelsea on the right, and they're working with some of our entry-level students here at U of M during their student teaching experience. For those of you who are currently in dental hygiene programs in Michigan, you may see some of our students come through in January, February, or you may have seen them in the past, in past years, come through. So there's a lot on this slide, a lot of pictures to look at, but I couldn't decide on just one, so I had to put them all in there. If you've had a community oral health course, you know that oral health care can no longer take place in the silo of the private practice setting, right? So we have to get out into the community, and advancing your education at U of M will help you see opportunities to share your expertise in non-traditional environments. Even during the pandemic, my e-learning students carried on with their hands-on learning and their commitment to their communities that they partnered with for their community projects. They created contactless educational mediums that included custom webinars for nurse aides, websites for kids and parents, and a socially distanced Q&A on oral cancer screenings at the homeless shelter. In the e-learning program, you'll have an opportunity to partner with a real agency in your community to design, build, and implement a robust oral health promotion program. So I don't want you to be too intimidated by that. It is challenging. It's supposed to be challenging, but we're here to walk you and mentor you through every step of that process. So it's actually an extremely enriching and rewarding experience for students. So I feel like sometimes the idea of research for undergraduates is a little scary because they really haven't done that much of it and they really haven't been exposed to that much to it. So, but I assure you that this does not have to be boring or intimidating. Research is just an opportunity, in my opinion, to explore ideas and subjects that you're passionate about. And we're here to guide and mentor our students through that process. So it's difficult to really visually describe, to have a picture that really explains research or tells you what it's like. So I know you're looking at these posters here that these students are standing in front of and not quite sure what you're looking at. So let me give you a little background. So on the left here is my student Ashley, and she looks like she's standing in front of a poster with a lot of words on it and maybe some gnarly pictures of teeth. But what you need to know that actually Ashley happens to be from the Flint area, and she did her community project that we just talked about. She did that project at the Flint Boys and Girls Club. And so this was around the time of the Flint water crisis. And when it came time to develop her senior capstone project, she expressed concern that those families she'd met at the club weren't able to drink the city water and therefore wouldn't be benefiting from the municipal fluoride. And so she was concerned about how would they make out, or they already had a high risk of decay. So it just so happened that around this time, U of M was also launching a massive multi-state research project for silver diamine fluoride. And so the study was just getting started, and we were able to get a meeting for Ashley with the researchers of that project, and she was able to ask them questions because one of their sites that they were recruiting subjects for that study was Flint. They have a community, we have a community dental clinic up in Flint, and they were using that to recruit subjects for the study. And so she said, what are you seeing up there? Is there something, that you see as a need that's not being addressed? And so they said, yeah, actually, they said the practitioners in that area, they don't really know how to use SDF. They're not using it. They don't know how to bill for it. Some education, professional education would be really helpful. So we built her a project around that idea. And ultimately, she was able to present this project that she'd done at the Michigan Oral Health Conference in Lansing that spring. So it was a pretty neat project for her. She developed some instructional resources for practitioners that were just disseminated around the state. So on the right is Colleen. And Colleen was one of our on-campus degree completion students, actually. And her extended family had been impacted by the opioid crisis. And she wanted to know what kind of research she could do around that topic for her senior research project. So we were able to have her access the school's electronic health record data on opioid prescriptions that were written by our providers here at U of M. So she looked at about 5 years worth of data, and she reported out on the trends in the number of prescriptions that were coming out of our clinics. We looked at who was getting them, what procedures were they having that they were getting them for, how many were there, those kinds of things. And so she was able to show that actually over that 5-year period, our providers significantly decreased the number of opioids they were prescribing, which is important, right? Because we want to limit the number of opioids that are getting out into the community. So for an institution that serves 36,000 unique patients a year and over 100,000 visits a year, that's an important footprint. That's a big footprint that we have in our community. So it's important for us to know what our providers are doing. And so she actually won a national award for that project. So again, you can see that research takes many forms. It's not always in the lab or the clinic. It's an opportunity to explore things that you're passionate about. And whether you're an online student or an on-campus student, there are opportunities here at U of M that not every college can offer their students. Okay, so let's talk about admission. How do you become a Wolverine? Well, the first 2 requirements you're going to meet by the time you finish your associate's program if you haven't already. So you need to have graduated from a CODA accredited program, and all the ones in Michigan are. You need to have your license eligible for licensure within the United States, and it's okay. You can still apply to the program if you're not taking your boards till spring or summer. That's fine. That's fine. We know that you're going to be taking them, and you'll be licensed by the time you enroll in September. So you just have to be licensed by the time you enroll. A lot of students ask me about GPA. What's the minimum GPA? Well, so I put this out there because this is the average GPA for our incoming students. Now, I want you to understand, though, that we look at much more than the number. We're looking at your transcripts for minimal classes withdrawn or dropped. We're looking for the rigor of courses that you've taken in relation to basic sciences or writing courses. So we're looking at your transcripts for more than your GPA number. If you are a non-English, if English is not your first language, then U of M requires that you take the TOEFL. Yes, you need statistics. This is pretty standard in most degree completion programs. You need to have a stats class, and there's no need to freak out about this. I have over 100 alumni, plus my currently enrolled students who pass statistics. You can too. If I can pass it, you guys can pass it too, so don't sweat it. If you're currently in dental hygiene school, please consult your program director before you enroll in any additional courses. You don't want to overburden your schedule this winter, particularly if you're going to be studying for your board exam. So if you're a first-year dental hygiene student, that's going to often be taken in the summer between first and second year. And if you've already graduated, you can take it from a local college. You don't have to take it from U of M, but you'll want to work with me to confirm that the course you're thinking about taking will in fact transfer to U of M. So I can happy to check those for you. I can check our database, and I can also check with our Office of Undergrad Credit Evaluators. So please reach out to me if you're looking at taking a stats class, just to make sure that it's going to transfer. Any stats class that you take, you need a grade of C or better to pass that in order to transfer. And the stats class has to be finished by the time, so by the end of July of the year you want to enroll. So if you're looking at enrolling for 2021, you need to have it done by this July. So to come to U of M, you're going to need 84 credits, right? 84 transfer credits. And so I'm going to look for 60 dental hygiene credits and 24 general education credits. And then while you're here, you're going to do 36 in-house, 36 U of M credits, and you combine that with the 84 to get you to the 120. And the 120 is a standard, pretty much every four-year university, you have to have 120 credits for a bachelor's degree. So you're going to do 36 in-house, you're going to bring 84 with you. So first step is now December. So the first thing you need to be thinking about is sending me some unofficial transcripts if you would like to figure out if you have the right number of credits that you need for the program. I happily do preliminary reviews of transcripts to see if you have those 80 credits. So PDFs or screenshots are fine as long as they're clear. Don't make me work too hard to translate the digital copy, but don't go paying for official transcripts if you don't have to just yet. That will come with the application process, but for right now, unofficial is fine. I can work with that. So once I evaluate your transcripts, then we'll set up a time to chat on the phone to go over the results of that, your goals for degree completion, and next steps for the application process. So that's my email. And my email is everywhere. You can go to the dental school's website and find me there. You can go to the degree completion page. It's there. It'll be in this PowerPoint. And I think probably if you got Zoom reminders, I think that came from my email too. So, so take a look in your inbox. Okay, so the application process really is very straightforward, very typical of most universities. If you meet the eligibility requirements, I'll provide you with the resources to successfully access and complete the Common application. And if you haven't done a Common App before, it's very student-friendly. It's used by lots of different universities. I have a help document that I'll send to you also to kind of make sure that you're clicking on the right buttons to make sure you get your application into our division. That's the first phase. And then once you get that submitted, there are a couple of very basic computer skill check assessments that we have students do. And these days, students are usually pretty proficient with their using the applications of Word and PowerPoint and that kind of thing. So it's not too much trouble usually for students to successfully complete those. And then once those are done, we have a little phone interview with me. Again, you don't need to come to Ann Arbor for this. You can do this on the phone, and we'll set that up during your application process. So once all those pieces are in place, I take that as an application package to the admissions committee. And then they look it over and they make a ruling. So it's really not complicated, but there are a few steps, and those steps take time, especially if you're in school or you're working. This can take a few weeks to get all that through. So please know that I'm here to walk you through all of it. I will communicate with you, answer any questions that you have. But like I said, it does take a couple weeks to get through it. So don't wait too long before reaching out to me to start the process. So before I move on to our next presenter, I always like to just give a plug for our Facebook page and our website, because even if you're not a U of M fan or you don't plan to come to U of M, but you are a dental hygienist. And so I think it's important to follow the U of M dental hygiene page, because you're going to get updates on professional events and news as well that are going on around the state. So even if you don't come to U of M, I would encourage you to still follow the Facebook page. So, and then our website, again, is a great resource for information about all of our programs. And in particular, at the bottom of the main dental hygiene page is this orange rectangle here called Dental Hygiene Profiles. And you can read more about our e-learning alumni there. There are more stories there to offer their personal insights on their experiences having completed their degree, as well as some faculty bios. So that's kind of nice. So without further ado, before we go on to our next speaker, I just wanted to check in to see if there were any questions thus far. I'm gonna stop my screen share for a second so I can see you guys again. All right. Oh, we got a couple chat box questions here, Lisa. Oh, thank you, Lisa. All right, any questions that I could answer so far about any of those details for you guys? Okay, everybody good? Okay, and you can always, Actually, thank you, Emery. That's a great question. Yeah, actually, that was perfect timing. My next speaker is actually going to talk about the tuition in her financial aid presentation. So let me just introduce Kelly here. And so I'm really, really excited. It was a big drawback to have to do a virtual open house because I can't see you guys in person, but one of the benefits is that I get to have really awesome guests now because I can't drag Kelly around the state with me to visit all the schools, but I can get her to come to this virtual open house. So I'm so excited to have her here today to present to you on the financial aid process at U of M and to share with you a little information about how they figure costs and how that might affect your situations. So Kelly, I'm gonna take my screen down and let you share yours. So welcome, Kelly. Kelly is a senior a senior financial aid administrator in the distance education area at the Office of Financial Aid here at U of M, and she has so graciously joined us this afternoon. So welcome, Kelly.
Hi, everybody. As Jennifer so kindly said, I work in the Office of Financial Aid. I handle all the distance education programs. So the e-learning distance education program is just one of the many that I help students navigate the application process and any questions they may have. So to get started, I want to tell you a little bit about the topics I'm going to cover. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I will address them at the end of my presentation. So today I'm going to cover what is financial aid, the cost to attend college, financial aid eligibility, types of financial aid, applying for financial aid at University of Michigan, and ending it with special circumstances. So let's start with what is financial aid? Put simply, it's money used to pay for college. If only my job was that easy, that would be amazing, but it's not. So what does financial aid cover? This is a big question. For your program, it covers not only the tuition and fees, which is a direct billable cost, that's something you would pay to the University of Michigan, but also indirect costs. So we can help cover housing, meals, books, supplies, personal miscellaneous expenses. These are things in an online program that you would be paying directly to another organization or company or landlord. So big question, what does it cost to attend the University of Michigan's e-learning program? So I have here per semester, this is for an in-state student. This is what the billable tuition and fees would be. It's about $5,000. This is for this year, current academic year. So we'll set those costs at the end of June for next year. And that would become available on the registrar's website as well as on a financial aid award notice. So this is based on 6 credits because that's what you would be enrolled in. Unlike all other students that receive a financial aid award notice that's based on full-time enrollment, this would be based on the 6 credits. So I would prorate you and give you what your financial aid actually would look like. I have an example here as well for out-of-state students because I know there's a few that are attending these presentations. The tuition is the part here that would go up slightly per semester. It's about $10,000 per semester that it's more. We do offer financial aid to our out-of-state students as well, but I won't be providing any examples of what that financial aid would be. So you would need to reach out to me directly for examples. Now let's go into some examples. I have 3 different examples here. So when you complete your financial aid application, you'll get something called an EFC. It's a expected family contribution. And you'll be able to see that with the FAFSA. With our other application that I'll go into later, you won't be able to see what that calculates at. But this is what we use to figure out your financial aid. For a student that has a 0 EFC, they would qualify for 3 different grants, 2 federal grants and a University of Michigan grant. And this is per semester. So you would times this by 3 for the whole year, 6 times for the entire program. This could change based on your FAFSA, but it gives you a general idea of what financial aid is. My next example is a student that has an expected family contribution of $2,318. So they're still getting some Pell Grant and University of Michigan grant. And then my last example is a slightly higher EFC of 5,883, and they're still qualifying for University of Michigan grant each semester. So let me break it down a little bit, because bottom line, what's this going to cost me out of my pocket? It's going to depend on that EFC, but in these 3 examples I gave you, the student that has a 0 expected family contribution each semester gets roughly a $1,500 refund. So they get money back to help with those costs from their grants. The student that has the $2,000 EFC, they would have to pay out of pocket about $700 per semester. And the student with the $5,800 EFC, about $1,500 a semester. So total, if you're timesing that by the 6, that's about $9,000 that you would have to pay for the program for the tuition and fee. Now, not everybody has that $9,000 that they're able to pay, so there are other types of financial aid that you can receive. Free money and borrowed money. So for free money, there's 2 different kinds. There's scholarships, so this is earned some way. So whether it's your grades based on merit, service skills awarded through the University of Michigan or through an organization. Typically, you have an application process for applying for these. Some may need the FAFSA, some may not. So you're just going to want to look to see what the different requirements are for each specific scholarship. And the other one that I just explained, some of those examples, are grants. These are need-based, so they are based on the FAFSA. The FAFSA would have to be completed. And we have another application, the CSS profile, and I'll explain that a little bit here in a minute. I have some examples here of some scholarships that students within the program have received. Jennifer was kind enough to share these with me. So if you have any questions about these specific scholarships, you would reach out to Jennifer. But these are some names that of scholarships that have applications. I will have this presentation to Jennifer, so you'll have access to all of this information as well, and she'll be posting it on the website. So let's go into borrowed money. This is loans, and this is typically federal financial aid, federal loans by completing the FAFSA. This is money you're borrowing, so you're going to have to pay it back. And the repayment would start after you graduate. Now there's 2 different types of loans. The first one's a subsidized direct loan, and the other one's an unsubsidized direct loan. You might be familiar with these from your programs that you're in or were in. And the students, the borrower for these, the difference between these is the subsidized loan doesn't have interest on that loan until your loan enters repayment, and the unsubsidized loan would start accruing that interest right away. Now, during the pandemic right now, there's no payments on loans right now, and no interest accruing, so that's a little bit different, but in a normal world, this is how these loans work. So let me go briefly into the application process. As I said, we have 2 different applications that we use at the University of Michigan. The first one's the FAFSA that you're probably familiar with. This is the federal application. It's free. This would be for federal financial aid, your grants and loans, as well as there might be some state funding that you might be eligible for as well. This is completed every year. Now the CSS profile is through College Board's website. It does have a small fee, but this fee might be waived by College Board. You'll find out when you get to the very end, you get to the payment screen if you qualify for a fee waiver or not. This is what we use to help figure out that grant eligibility, and some scholarships require this as well. This is only completed once for your first year. I have some deadlines here. I know some people said that it might be a couple years, so our deadlines can change. So you would just want to check the Office of Financial Aid's website to see if those have changed if you're not looking at it for next year. So a question we get often is, do I need my parents' information on the FAFSA? I pay my own bills, I live on my own, I make my own money. Do I need my parents' information? Well, most students, undergraduate students, do need their parents' information. You're still considered a dependent unless you meet one of these qualifications for being an independent student. You're married, you're at least 24 years old, both of your parents passed away after the age of 13, or you're a ward of the court, you have dependents of your own, or you're homeless. Now, I know 2020 has been a very challenging year for most students and families, and so I just want to touch on special circumstances, because that's a lot of the questions that we get in financial aid. Is I'm reporting income information for 2 years ago, and that's not what I make or my family makes any longer. We do have the opportunity for you to submit an appeal for special circumstances. This is not something you would complete on the FAFSA or appeal through the Department of Education. You would simply just reach out to our office or me directly, and we can discuss what those options are and what that process is. You would want to contact us after you've been admitted, and hopefully we will have information at that time with what that process will be. It changes every year. So what they tell me today could be different tomorrow. So I just want to thank everybody. Here's my contact information. The best way to reach me is by email. We all work remotely, but I can set up Zoom advising, a phone call appointment with you, or just chat over email, whatever's easiest. I also have all the information for our general office as well. But like I said, it's a little bit more tricky to get a hold of me since we're in a remote way. So I will open it up to questions. Let me stop sharing here. Helps if I hit the right thing.
Thank you very much for that, Kelly. It's always so informative. Each time I hear it, I pick up on a new little nugget of information that I take away from it. So are there any questions at all for Kelly while we have her? I know it's hard financially. It can be a little bit of a personal conversation, but if there are any general questions or anything you feel comfortable asking, you're welcome to.
And if you don't, you can email me directly, and I am more than willing to talk to anybody. Okay, we do have a question. So the cost semester for e-learning is $13,118. So let me get back to my cost of attendance. Now, I do want to just mention the cost of attendance, yes, is $13,118, but of that, not all of that's billable. It's about just over $4,000 that is actually billable each semester. So I guess it's about $5,000 that's billable each semester. The rest of that would be your housing costs. So you may already be paying your own rent and meals and books and supplies you're planning on paying, from your income that you have. But we include that in financial aid just so you can receive support if you need it. So if you need loans to help with covering some of those, we can give that to you. I would be reasonable and think about what you actually need before borrowing loans. But yes, that's the cost of attendance per semester, but it doesn't mean that's everything that's billed.
And so the other question was, does room and board apply if you're online? And typically we're not looking at students coming to Ann Arbor to live. Typically they're staying in their home or their apartment or whatever living conditions. So that for you wouldn't change. Whatever you're paying for rent right now, or your housing, your food, the only thing that you would then be owing U of M would be based around tuition and the cost of attendance itself, not the cost of living here. So yeah. So,
and that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a
and
federal regulation that we include it, and
exactly.
the same for all students, whether they're online or in person. So it's a benefit for you to see if you can qualify for some financial aid to help cover that. And then one example, you get $1,500 per semester to help cover those costs. So it's a benefit for you that we include.
Yeah, and to think about that on the front end is, I think, really helpful for online students, because you still have rent whether you're living here in Ann Arbor or not. It's still a cost of living, and so the federal government requires that they consider those expenses when they're talking about aid for students. And so I think that's great. And so even if your only out-of-pocket cost to U of M is tuition, you're still being they're looking at you like you have all of these other expenses too. So I think that's great. So yeah, we usually look between about 4,400, 4,500 to for tuition and fees, and then plus books per semester. So yeah, that's about right. Good. Anybody else? All right. Okay, well, and again, Kelly has contact information there. Feel free to reach out to her anytime if you have questions that are specific to your unique situation. So, all right, great. Thank you so much, Kelly. Again, it's a pleasure. And you're muted.
No problem at all. I'm happy I could be here. It's nice to be able to attend these with you. So
Great, great. Glad to have you. All right, thanks, Kelly. Have a great weekend. And yeah.
You as well.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going to introduce our two alumni who are here to talk about their stories with you. And I just want to introduce them, and then I'll take my screen down again. So, all right, so first we are going to be joined by our e-learning alumni from the class of 2019, Christy Pykuch. This is, Christy was in the e-learning program as a working mom. She worked in clinical practice at Midwest Dental while raising her young son, who is in kindergarten somehow, magically. I don't know how that happened. He's suddenly now in kindergarten. It seems like yesterday. But in recognition of Christy's hard work while she was in the program, she received 2 scholarships. And Kelly did mention those scholarships. One was the Center for the Education of Women. Christy received an award from them, and then she also received the Dolores Kelly Dental Hygiene Endowed Fund Scholarship as well. So you can see in the picture on the right there, that's actually she and one of our entry-level students who both received that scholarship. So Christy was also inducted into the National Dental Hygiene Honor Society, Sigma Phi Alpha. I'd also like to introduce our other alumni here, Michelle Spencer, before we get into talking to both of them. There we go. So Michelle joins us today. She is from the class of 2017, and Michelle was also very busy while she was in the program, and even busier since leaving the program. She was also a working mom, working part-time in private practice and raising 2 little girls with her husband near White Lake while she was in the program. And during her 2nd year of the e-learning program, she gave birth to their 3rd daughter. So in recognition of her academic accomplishments, Michelle was awarded membership in the, for her class in the Dental Hygiene Honor Society also of Sigma Phi Alpha. And she was also recognized for her service to vulnerable populations with the University of Michigan Ginsberg Center Service Award. So she also worked with a faculty mentor while she was in the program to publish a paper on treating the transgender patient, published in Access magazine. Michelle has been actively involved in the Michigan Dental Hygienists Association and is currently the president of MDHA. Michelle just graduated last spring with her master's degree in learning technology and design from Central Michigan. And she currently teaches full-time at OCC. So welcome to you both. Thank you so much for being here. I want to come back so I can see you guys. So I want to start actually with Christy. I want to have Christy tell you a little bit about what it was about the e-learning structure and the delivery of the program that she found was a balance for her, a better balance, and really benefited her learning. So Christy, can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Sure. So for me, I think what really stood out for me with U of M was the structured program and the cohort way that the program was designed. I didn't think that taking classes at random would be something that would motivate me to complete my degree. So I liked that U of M offered that structured sort of calendar that I could just kind of get on my books. I knew when the breaks were. I put everything into my calendar. I knew when the semesters began and ended. I could plan vacations around that or family events and just sort of work along with that structured calendar.
Great, that's really helpful. And then recently you shared with me, and I know it's okay that I share this, but you've had a change of jobs. And
Yes.
Recently your position at Midwest Dental, they had a change in their operating. So having closed their doors this spring.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so can you tell us a little bit about what that was like, having to go back into the job market, and how that was different maybe than when you had your associate's degree compared to when you had your bachelor's degree?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, my office closed its doors in the midst of the pandemic. So not only was I sort of facing the challenges of being on unemployment and managing my family with that, I also had to now find a new job. And I felt sort of differently confident going back into the job force with my U of M degree than I think I would have just being out of school with my associate's degree. I felt proud to have it on my resume. I felt more knowledgeable talking about the passions within my career and what I could offer in office, knowing that I had that degree sort of under my belt. And I found work very quickly. I had many offers, found a great office. Actually, I ended up going back to my former office and then found a job temping, which has worked out really well for me. So
Great, it's good. So it felt a little different going back out into the workforce or into the job market.
Yeah.
Not just with that piece of paper, but because of what you now understood and the confidence you had in your own self, right? That
Right.
what you were capable of and what you had to offer in office.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. And then I mentioned you had a couple of scholarships while you were here at the university. You want to talk a little bit about what that meant for you, what those scholarships
Yes.
meant?
So you will find when you're in the program that your instructors will sort of push you along and motivate you to apply things that you didn't think you would ever deserve or qualify for. And Jennifer really pushed me to apply for scholarships. So I was awarded 2 different scholarships, which helped me immensely financially with the costs of the program. Not only receiving the financial help, but just being at the university and sort of being around others who also were awarded scholarships. It just gives you this sense of belonging in the university and recognition for things that you maybe thought, well, this is just my life and I don't deserve any special recognition for that, but you do, and you should feel proud of where you came from and your struggles and everything that you've overcome. And scholarships are a great way to I don't know, they're a great way to sort of make you feel good for everything you've done along the way.
That's really great. Thank you, Christy. Appreciate that. Awesome. So I'm going to have Michelle talk a little bit too, and then we can open it up for questions for both of them. And so, Michelle, your situation was a little bit different. Can you tell us a little bit about what your motivations for completing your degree were, why you showed up on U of M's doorstep, and why you thought U of M could help you get to your goals?
Yeah, I guess it all sort of starts with a backstory, of course. I grew up sort of volunteering, with my mom, and I was a candy striper. I know I don't look old enough, but I was a candy striper for a few summers. My mom did that to keep us out of trouble. And I ended up in retail management, not going to college right when I graduated. And I was like, oh, I'm 18, I'm a manager, I got this. And then, I realized that wasn't for me. Shortly after having a few kids and realizing that that was not my passion. My passion is helping people. And so I ended up at OCC, going back to college as a 33-year-old with 2 children and a husband, and, just trying to survive. And I, loved it. I loved it from day one, although I'm sure we all have memories of not being able to wrist rock or whatever it was. I think it took me a full year of trauma around that before I got the hang of it. So about the second year, I just had a feeling I wanted something more than clinical. Not that there's anything wrong with clinical, because I love that too, but I had a desire to, do something public health. And I felt that tied really well with my passion to help communities. And, I have benefited from much, help. I was on Medicaid and for my children and to get health insurance at points. And, we didn't have a home at one point, and we went through Habitat for Humanity to get our first home. So I've been through that, and I wanted to be able to facilitate that. So I was like all gung ho. I'm like, public health, research, I love it. And so, with encouragement of a few key faculty members, I started getting the confidence to try and apply for U of M. And, growing up, it was never a thought. It was never pushed as hard. And I hold U of M sort of up there. I'm like, that's not possible for me, right? So I think I had those self-doubts happening probably as well, thinking U of M's not attainable. But, I applied and I was able to be accepted into the program. And like I said, I started with public health passion and maybe research. I never thought I could be a teacher or that I would love teaching the way I do now. And what was really amazing about U of M is they really allowed you to explore passions. So whatever passion each one of us had, we really got to take that into our program. I had one of my peers, she was so passionate about veterans and their oral health and post-traumatic stress disorder and all those correlations. She got to develop a whole project around that. I wanted to explore, because I love cultures and diversity, that's sort of my passion too with the whole public health aspect. I wanted to explore transgender and how the oral health of a transgender population might, be considered, and what can we do to provide better care for a needs population. And they do have a list also of organizations that you can pair with, but they were so on board with me saying, I want to work with adults. I want to work with adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And they're like, you find an agency, you got it. So that allowing you to like work in your passion, it's not work anymore. It's love, it's passion, and you get to grow in the things that make you feel stronger. So that's sort of my story until that darn teaching course happened, and I got to come back to OCC and I did my teaching rotation, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, I love teaching. I want to explore this more. And that's where I sort of found my love for teaching. And of course, that was guided by some amazing teachers I had at U of M, some amazing mentors at OCC. And I wanted to be that person who has an ability to say, it doesn't matter what your passion is, you embrace it, you explore it, and you love it. I wanted to be able to encourage people the way I was encouraged to keep moving on. So that is sort of the roundabout story how I landed into teaching throughout this. And honestly, I felt like I would be well prepared to sort of move into any of those avenues after attending U of M. They really give you such a broad experience. And even if you don't know what your passions are, you get to explore what they might be. And that is huge for me. So I loved my experience. And I said, peers, we had an amazing cohort. It felt like a family. And as you saw, I'm sort of like crazy over busy. And I think it runs in the family. My mom was the same way. But I had 2 kids in the program. And like I said, we were still living in our house that we got through Habitat. So we were just trying to figure things out. And then all of a sudden I'm like, yay, I'm having another kid. Like, what am I doing? I'm in my bachelor's program. But the faculty was amazing. They supported me. They helped me believe in myself all over again. So without them, there's so many experiences I've had. Like, Jennifer mentioned, I'm lucky and blessed and honored to be president of the Michigan Dental Hygienists Association. I've got to go to Lansing and advocate for oral health for children entering kindergarten. I've got to advocate to bring the dental therapy bill here. And it feels so good to advocate for reaching populations that need that love. And that's another way I get to explore my passions, because I have that education. I can go and do research and say, according to research, it shows this, this, and this. We need to help people. I can support my passions through the evidence and the research we were able to help hone us and teach us how to do. So that's my roundabout story real quick. And I loved the experience, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's looking to expand on their clinical knowledge and or explore other avenues as far as your profession.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that, Michelle. Great. I have to say, I agree. And I think, and then Chris, you'll probably find this too, that that you come in thinking that you have sort of one idea about what you want to do, but what you really don't understand is that it's a platform for you to be able to do all those things. And it just sort of hit me with that light bulb when you said you went to Lansing as in your role with MDHA and advocated for public health measures. So you got right back to those roots that you thought you were, you had that passion for public health, and yet you were able to use your your platform as the president of our association. And actually, even when you were a member, you were advocating for that dental therapy bill long before you were president. So it's, I think, helpful to really see outside of this small bubble of clinical practice that we really have so many ways that we can impact our profession, and not just our patients and the population, but also each other. You know, I think with Chrissy's capstone project, she really focused on what do we need as professionals to be able to advance our careers in the corporate area of dentistry. And she part of that was her project, was asking actual other hygienists what they needed or thought or had, that were their experiences in terms of their education, right, Christy, in terms of working in corporate, right? So I think that's an important kind of research that we get to tap into as well. Did you want to speak a little bit to that, Christy, and why you chose that project?
Yeah, so working in corporate dentistry, it sort of opened my eyes to the things we were lacking in the corporate structure, and wow, I think I could do this better, or I think I would have something as a hygienist to offer at a corporate level to improve how corporate dental practices are run. I loved corporate dentistry for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes it gets a bad rap, but I found my place in it and I really liked it. And I had a pretty strong desire to move up the ladder, so to speak, in the professional environment at my company, which didn't end up panning out as quite as I had hoped, but maybe in the future at some point I could go back and revisit that. But my entire capstone project was about surveying other hygienists like myself who had the same desires all over the country, and getting their opinions on what they were lacking, maybe educationally and professionally, and what they thought that they could benefit from or know more about in order to better prepare them for the same roles. And Tammy Grezikowski, who was on one of your previous slides, she and Jennifer as well helped me a lot throughout my capstone. And as far as reaching different hygienists and using the survey software, and then sort of analyzing that and reporting our findings, it was a lot of fun. It was a really cool experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that research is important, that we keep doing that, not just for educating people who are already out in the field, but it's really important for administrators of educational programs to know that information that Christy collected too, because we want to know, are we teaching students what they need to know to be successful in the workforce, and are we also giving them what they want to know? So if a student, you know, if we get this rush of students who say, oh, I want more business training, I want a class in business, or I want a class in management so that I can go out and apply for positions in corporate dentistry or in you know, agencies that have more of a business focus, and also have my hygiene experience, then maybe as administrators we need to shift our curriculum a little bit to support those students. And so it was really helpful information that Christy had, and that ripple effect of not just impacting her immediate research, but what other hygienists are doing, and then program administrators for educational programs. Are we doing the right thing? Are we meeting our students' needs, and are we meeting them where they are? So, so yeah, there was lots of opportunities, and there's lots of ripple effects from all of those projects.
And I think one more thing, I think to Michelle's point, I viewed research as it has to be medical, and it has to have some sort of clinical trial and medical format in order to really be considered research. I had no idea we could survey individuals and choose our samples and choose people to survey. And that's another way that U of M allows you to put your own interests up on a pedestal and sort of explore your own desires in a way that you wouldn't have the opportunity to do without such a supportive group of people behind you.
Yeah, I mean, without that research, you're not going to know who needs your help. Mm-hmm. How are you going to identify those populations that need that? So I mean, it's huge. And just the more educated and the better we are at our research and our science, the more respected we are within the medical healthcare arena. You know, we have other graduates who went to go work at hospitals, and they got to teach the residents there. They got to teach other doctors in the hospital about oral health. And how amazing is that, for it finally to start coming together, you know, whole body health. And she probably wouldn't have been in that position without that higher education piece, you know. So there's a lot of cool things that get to happen out within our field. And sometimes that education is that step, it's that catalyst to bigger and better things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. Yep. And so no matter where you go, getting a bachelor's degree will put you in a better position career-wise with job prospects, with opportunities. But I think particularly when you come here to U of M, you have access. Then you're in the network. You have access to the network, and I think the resources that U of M can provide students really are unparalleled. Certainly within the state of Michigan. There's no other program that can do, I think, quite what U of M does for their students in connecting them to real world opportunities. And I think part of that is because we have such a strong experiential learning curriculum. Like we really, even though they're online, we're sending our students out into the world to do things and to apply what they're learning. And so that makes you meet people too. You meet people along the way that impact your career, maybe not today, but maybe 5 years down the road. Yeah, great. Well, you guys, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out to come and talk to our prospective students and share your experiences. They're such great stories. I learn something new every time, and I love hearing them. So thank you for sharing the personal stories too. It's very, very sweet.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I love talking. Ask anyone. I don't know when to stop. So.
You did great. You did great. And then both of their emails are on the slides. So if you didn't get a chance to write them down, of course, the slides will be up next week on the website. So they are both have told me that they're open to letting people reach out to them to answer questions after the fact. And you can certainly reach out to me if you want to talk to an alumni. I have a list of alumni who have different areas of interest. And so if you have a specific subject or area that you're interested in knowing more about, or how U of M might help facilitate that passion, I might be able to connect you with an alumni who's actually walked that walk. So if you want to talk to somebody who's actually had that experience and what they did with it, and that might be something that's helpful for you to see how that would play out for you. But like I said, Christy and Michelle are very happy to chat to you and answer questions even offline. So does anybody have any questions right now for either of our alumni about their experience in the program, about the time commitment, how they managed, or about the structure of the program and how they felt that benefited them? All right. Well, like I said, we're all available after the fact. So if something comes up and you have a question that you need answered, just don't hesitate to reach out to us. All right. So with that, we will wrap up our second open house. So thank you everyone for joining us today. It was really great to see you all. Be safe out there. Take care of each other, and reach out with those unofficial transcripts whenever you're ready.